So now that we're at this zone axis, let's try and do something else. Go to a different zone axis and see what happens. So I'm going to actually focus the beam. And I'm at 800,000 times. This is a bit high. So I'm going to go down to, say, 200,000 times. There we go. And I'm going to focus the beam. And when I hit, so that's a convergent beam. And when I hit diffract, you can see a diffraction pattern there, but the condenser aperture is very large, so the discs are all overlapped. And I'm also at a very long camera length. So if I reduce the camera length to about 40, I need to put in another aperture. Okay, so I go to, I'm reaching up above me and adjusting the condenser aperture, and you can see that changing. Oops, I've lost it. So I'm going to center that aperture before changing apertures again. And that's the second smallest one. It's a 40 micron aperture. And when I converge the probe, notice that when I hit diffract, the discs are much smaller and they're all just almost touching. So you can get very nice diffraction patterns. It's a lovely one, actually. I think I'm going to try and center that and put that on the detector. Put that on the screen here. So I'm going to move over. I'll probably be burning a hole in the specimen, and I'll zoom out now, and let's see if I can get that. I have to reduce the exposure time significantly. Because diffraction patterns concentrate the intensity very strongly. So let's see what happens. Oh, it's overloaded. You can see the chicken wire pattern and the memory effect there. So what I need to do is I need to go to a smaller spot size. So I'm going to go back to the magnification, and I'm going to increase the spot size. Increase spot number, makes for a dimmer probe. That requires a little bit of condenser astigmatism adjustment. So I'm just recentering. So I've converged the probe to a very fine point. Now I can go into diffraction mode and see what we get up on the screen. Okay, not bad. Make that a bit brighter and I can move around on the specimen. So instead of points now, because we have a convergent beam, we have discs. So these have broadened out into discs because we've got a cone of incidence and therefore diffracted cones which intersect a plane, which is the detector, in the form of discs. And it's the intensity distribution as a function of angle in these discs that that tell you something about the symmetry of the crystal, as you will learn in your lectures. So as I move across the crystal, you can see things are changing quite a lot, and I'll try and find an orientation of symmetry. That's the central beam right there. And then you almost have mirror symmetry. Not quite. because weaving in between the particles with the precipitates with the focused beam means that we can sometimes hit those, trying to weave in and out of them, because if we hit the precipitates, they essentially interrupt the structure and therefore interrupt the symmetry. So I'm just going to shift the diffraction pattern so that the central beam is centered, and I'm just going to move to a position where the crystal bends to a point where we can get some symmetry in the pattern. And we just crossed a precipitate because there were extra spots. Good to be in a thin area because you're not going to crash into too many precipitates that way. If we go for a thicker area, we'll get more detail in the pattern, but we're also more likely to intersect a lot more precipitates because they will tend to overlap. So if I move this way, it looks like I'm going to get a balance in that. Almost had it right on zone there, and there we are. Not bad. I'm going to try and capture that. I've just hit a precipitate. Look at the multiplicity of the discs coming in. There's all these shadow discs creeping in. Can't capture that. Okay, let's have a look at that more carefully. You can see there's approximately a mirror here because that lobe almost matches. We're never going to get very good symmetry because this is full of precipitates, and dodging them is a tough proposal. That's nice. That's nice. Got to move fast. When I see something, I'll just stop talking and take the image because the beam does a lot of damage and can quickly burn a hole in the specimen. So that's a nice seabed pattern. Well, that's one of many possibilities. I'm going to try right, that's nice. We're not on zone, but you can see the mirror symmetry. This to that, that to that. We're slightly asymmetric, but that lobe mirrors that lobe. We've just slightly gone off the zone. It would be nice if I can get on zone. That's a good example. So I'm just going to move around until I can get it. Ooh, tilting the wrong way. That's where we just hit a precipitate. I'm going to see if I can get to a thicker region. That'll also help with the intensity. Down with the screen. Okay, well I've just tilted onto a zone. which you should be able to index given that aluminium is cubic. So I'll just raise the screen and show it to you. There we are. It's a square geometry. Now, if I'm careful, I'll be able to hopefully get a symmetric pattern. And I'm moving, and you can see the intensity's flicking all over the place, and that's partly because we are crossing precipitates, and we're in the strain field of the precipitates, which distorts the crystal lattice. Hopefully we can get a symmetric orientation. So that's seabed, that's convergent beam electron diffraction. What I might do is, because it's hard to control, oh, that's a nice mirror symmetry right there. Ah, it has just destroyed itself, drilling a hole. So I'm just going to capture that again. The nice point here is that you can see a pretty good mirror going that way. All the intensities are mirrored, so the structure has a mirror in that direction. Seabed tells you all about the symmetry of the pattern, symmetry of the crystal structure. So I'm going to try and tilt towards that zone axis. So what I'm doing is using the bend in the crystal as well as tilting with my feet to orient the beam as close to this zone axis as I possibly can. Oh, we're very close here. Isn't that? Oh, almost there. And then you move slightly and you hit a precipitate. So you have to duck and weave through the structure. Added complication. Let's see what this is like. Ah, it was almost there. Oh, nearly there. This is painstaking work because of the crystal's quite bent, and it's also distorted by the presence of those precipitates. So trying to get a seabed pattern aligned exactly along the zone axis in a perfect bit of the aluminium lattice is exceptionally difficult. I'm going, almost there. That's the last bit. Things moved though. Oh, almost there. Now, if I'm naughty, I'll just move the aperture slightly. I'll get it. So I'm getting ready to apply this. lost it. No. Mechanical backlash. And also, the longer you leave the probe on a spot, it burns a hole. Which means I have to move, tilt, do it all at the same time. Almost there, almost there. And get ready to take the shot. Okay, so that's an on-zone axis pattern, but it doesn't show all of the symmetry because it's been broken by the strain field of the precipitates around it. But you can see almost a fourfold symmetry there. That's the central beam. These are approximately the same, and these are approximately the same as well. So I'll see if I can do slightly better, and then we'll call it a day. Perfect. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's not too bad. Almost a 4 mm symmetry there. These are approximately the same. And these are approximately the same. I'm never going to beat the strain associated with the material. But I'll see if I can. I will persist a bit longer. You might not be able to see this, but I'm doing very, very sensitive minor adjustments using a very subtle driving of the stage, the specimen stage. And once I get it, I'll take a snap. Oh, moved off the specimen there. Oh, close. No, I've lost that. Ooh, no, I've got it back again. But that has moved a bit. Okay. Okay. No, to be honest, I don't think I'm going to do better because of the nature of the specimen. But I don't think that's better than this. Well, we'll save all of them and we'll call it a day. So I'm going to lower the screen, close the gun valve, and then we're just gonna save these images. Just going to call that save as seabed. So for convergent beam electron diffraction, 40 centimeter camera length, CMCL camera length. I'm not going to name the zone axis because you've got to figure that out. We'll call that zone axis 1. That's a beauty. I think the next one's better. Save as seabed zone axis 1. Ooh, I should rename this. Zone axis 1, number 1, and this would be zone axis 1, number 2. So as number 3. You guys can pick which one is the best, has the best symmetry in it. The highest 4 mm symmetry in it. I'm just going to re-zero that. It's not bad. It's not so good either. That is not exactly the same as this. But I'll save them all. It's a lot of data. So I'm going to have to compress this all. So that's slightly tilting off the zone axis along one of the mirror lines. It's not a bad example. File, save as. Yeah, we'll save that one too. Still the same zone axis. 6. This one. That's not bad. It's a good mirror in this direction. The mirror is actually slightly off the center of the disc. As you can see if you change the highlighting. Because as the disc moves further this way with respect to the mirror, more space gets created for that lobe there and less space gets created for that lobe. But these are mirrored features, as are these, but this lobe is smaller than that lobe because the disc has moved and it's the perimeter of the disc that cuts off the scattering angle. So file, save as, oh god, cancel. File, click the wrong button, save as, and we'll go zone axis 2. And this one is not as interesting, but we'll save it anyway. Save as number 2. And this one, that's it. Ooh, that's not as well mirrored as the other one. File, but we'll save it all. Number 3. So that's it.